Sell yourself.
I'm ready to sell my soul. Well, before we get into the show, we're going to do some pre-roll sponsorship ads. Try grasshopper.com/sweat. Grasshopper's the app. If you need a business phone line, you want a vanity number, get that through us. Go to trygrasshopper.com/sweat. That'll give you $50 off your purchase of a phone line, and that'll hook us up with a little something, something. And by the way, if you go to this this link and it gives you the security issue where it's like, this isn't safe, totally safe,
Ignore
bro.
that.
It's so fine.
It's
safe.
fine.
Don't worry about it. You can go right through. It's just not SSL secure. It doesn't have that HTTPS on there. Trygrasshopper.com/sweat. FreshBooks. You know,
The song
it's
is our next sponsor. Gay Cruise Lines.
Gay Cruise Lines. See Cuba Gooding Jr. and Horatio Sands on boat trip.
Live.
Go freshbooks.com/sweat. FreshBooks is a good invoicing system. Allison, I believe you use FreshBooks. Yay, nay?
No.
Nope. Okay, great. Good yes and.
No.
Go freshbooks.com/sweat. Get that direct deposit from those invoices the next business day. That is huge because the other ones don't do that. And then warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. That's warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. All these affiliate links, all these sponsors, they help the podcast put a little bit something back into this so we can reinvest it Warren Buffett style.
Is that it? You're getting pretty fast with those.
Yeah, just trim it down.
All right, cool. You ready?
Just trim it down like my pubes.
What about my sweat
Let's do it.
equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity.
Howdy toddy.
My sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
We are Sweat Equity. This is about girthy ROI. Hashtag that. If you're listening to this, pushing it out there. Hashtag 69B2B. You got a friend's brand? I'm getting the head shake from our guest, Miss Allison Kerr.
You agree
do you know,
should change the hashtag 69B2B to anything else other
Right.
than that?
So do you know what we're about? Do you know what that's about? So we said anybody that 5 stars, if your friend starts a podcast or a business that's on Google My Business or something like that, you should immediately 5-star that as soon as you can, right?
Right.
I
Okay.
do it blindly. If people invite me to a
I'm
business
not
page,
against the practice. I'm against the name
Right. I
to
don't.
make it a thing.
I want
If
to
you want it
reciprocate
actually-
the love.
From a branding perspective, it doesn't really.
From a dick joke perspective, though,
But it's really
But
good
it's-
for
you know this. You know,
But it's-
literally, this podcast is pragmatic business advice with dick jokes. Like that is
I
what's
understand that.
okay.
But being the pragmatic one.
pragmatically speaking, not a lot of people going to repeat that.
Right.
69 B2B. It's gonna catch on, guys.
Oh,
It's
Lord.
look, prove them wrong out there. If you're listening, prove them wrong.
Or prove.
But if
wrong
you do,
wrong.
if you do send us a screen grab of you 5-starring our podcast, Eric and I will double team
69.
that. We'll both 69 you and your brand. You just got to send us the brand as well. That's a good deal. 2 for 1.
Good deal.
It's a great deal.
Allison, my friend, my accountability buddy from Primal Elements, that's PRYMEL elements.com, and new podcast Brandology Beyond the Logo on Spotify, Google Play, not quite as we record this. This will be out next Monday, so as we record it, you'll probably be on iTunes.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apple Podcasts. So go on that, give her a 5-star review, subscribe, rate, review. That's the cheat code.
All that.
Yeah. What's going on? What's kicking?
Everything.
As the owner of your own digital agency, we found a commonality of wanting to bitch about what we do for a living, and find a good therapeutic kind of. We've been trying to call each other, keep each other accountable on our own kind of goals. Why don't you give the listeners your background? Because I don't know if I know it 100%.
Okay.
I know you have a design background.
Uh-huh.
I know you've told me bits and pieces throughout, but we became what I call fast BFFs.
Business besties.
Mm-hmm.
Let's clarify that.
Yes,
Business
we're
besties
business
only.
Yeah.
besties.
My eyes are up here, you know. Oh, you're saying the other way. Okay.
She's not actually friends with you, just
Okay.
business friends.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so
Business.
my background is actually in journalism and communications. I thought I was going to conquer the world by launching my own magazine, and I did that for a little bit, and it was cool, but it wasn't exactly what I was meant to do. So I ended up getting some more experience in like sales and marketing, because that's what you need when you run a magazine. You need to understand how that stuff works. So
Yeah.
spent several years doing that for different businesses. So I worked in publishing, I worked in finance, I worked in commercial real estate, like multifamily, for a bit too. And then at that time I was running my own graphic design freelance business, just to help pay some extra bills and try to start my own thing with that. And eventually it morphed into what I have now, which is Primal Elements. We're a branding and consulting agency. We primarily work with small businesses, startups, nonprofits, people that really just don't know where to start with their businesses, or if they have started and they're trying to take their business to the next level. They come talk to someone like me who can help to not only figure out where the holes are in their business, but give them the tools, albeit, visually or internally, systems wise, to actually take their business to the next level.
Yeah, we talked about this last episode. I'm secretly an ops nerd. I think you are as well.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why we got along with it's like, this is how this workflow should be. And we got to figure out how to do this for respective businesses. For us, I think you and I also think that it's crazy. A lot of business owners don't have any shade of an idea, any thought of an idea of a business plan.
No.
It's so fucking nuts. Like when
Or-
you're like, just how about a goal? Give me
Right.
something like revenue. You want to hit something?
Right. And it's
Or are you just fucking firing from the hip?
a lot
Yeah.
of them, because
I know.
it's a lot of guesswork.
97% don't even like sniff at this isn't a real fact, but it's like 97% don't write a business plan or an outline.
Yeah.
Even an outline.
I mean, once the business is up and going, you got stuff to do, man. Like,
And I'll have to say, like, I've never been a big fan of writing business plans, because they can be intimidating, especially if you don't have a business background, you're not really taught
Sure.
how to do it. However,
Totally get that.
I don't even know if that's the first place that I would tell people to start. I always tell people that the foundation of any business is building your brand. So you need to understand what your brand is about, who you're targeting, all that stuff that will help you when you're actually ready to build out a business plan framework. So I tell a company, if they're in startup phase, within the first year or so of operations, that's not really what they need to focus on. Focus on building out a really solid brand with a really great foundation first. Get through your first year, work out some of the kinks, and then put your energy into building out an actual business plan that'll take you to the next level.
It's just a different method of,
Yeah.
You're going to get there.
Eventually.
We both are getting to the same kind of area with a client where you're like, you just approach it from a different way. I just like to say, hey, this is a thing that existed that you may want to check out.
Right.
And you may want to, here's some pragmatic advice. Go to SBA.gov actually has a pretty good business plan, like
Mhm.
outline. It's like a form. It doesn't feel icky. It doesn't feel like a term paper. Liveplan.com and then B plans.
Yeah.
Those are like freemium kind of app sites, but they'll walk you through the whole process pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I start with goal setting. I start with like, what do you want to do?
Yep.
That's really what I ask. And then they go, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, a year from now. And it sounds corny. You feel like you're that corny motivational speaker that's like, all right, picture it. 3 years from now, what do you want to do? But really, if you don't have that in your sights, on your Pinterest board, in your mind for your business, like, what do you might shoot from the hip and you might be doing it and it might be working okay, right?
Mhm.
It's going to catch up to you.
I just think it's interesting that you don't have to have a business plan right when you're starting. There's no, like, you can wait a year to write a business plan or come up with some goals and like get an idea of what you're wanting to do. Like Allison was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people think a business plan is like, oh, I'm taking this to the bank so that they'll give me
Right.
money for the business. It's like,
Which could be part of it.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them do want to see that, but it's not just that. It can be beneficial for your actual business to have that written out.
Or, here's my thing. Know where you suck.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not great at projecting financials for, when it gets complex for a
Mhm.
company. That's where I was like, okay, that helped me when I was writing business plans for clients back in the day. Is like, oh, okay, I'm better in this small to medium area. When we get to corporate enterprise level, this
That's not you.
gets too
Yeah.
much for me, and I don't get excited about cost accounting.
Mm-mm.
But it does get me in a weird way to go, okay, that's a hole in my game. I need to look at that a little bit better, or I need to learn that at
But
least.
you're also not an accountant, like a bigger bit.
No, but-
they're going to have high level accountants doing those things anyways.
Right, but at the same time, you talk to anybody that's kind of successful business person, is like they can do some quick accounting off the top of their head, and they're always kind of cost accounting. I feel like the really successful people I have as mentors they're always like,
Think about the numbers.
think about cutting costs all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's a saying, like, something about when you're young, you're always worried about revenue and bringing that in. But the older salts, they're always worried about the cost cutting part of it.
Yeah, because they've already got the revenue coming in.
It's more of an exercise. The business plan isn't really an exercise on like, here's something to turn in. And you're right. People do think that. They think that's like, I'm only doing that to get that. And it's, no, I say write an outline. And that's what I walk people through too, is like, what's the vision for this?
Right.
Which is part of a business plan. What your brand is, you're just breaking the brand parts are just scattered throughout the whole business plan.
Do
They
it for
are.
yourself.
Mhm.
Right. So
Don't
I just
tell anybody. Just
so
do
we
it.
we have to figure out how to almost trick.
Yeah.
We're manufacturing a business plan, but it's like we're trying to make it not. I've always told you I want to get like a big gamify board, a touchscreen board, to make it entertaining. Because I think if you could make that entertaining, that kind of fun, it would, you get a lot more out of the client that doesn't know a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
One day we'll get that touchscreen.
Put that
One
on the
day.
wish
Vertical
list.
TVs, baby.
Yes, all over the place.
Sideways.
I want it to be like Price is Right for business. I just want, I just want a bunch of games that are
Bunch
like
of wooden
whoa.
games.
Yeah.
Yodi.
Yeah. What are your costs? Perfect.
Already got that one ready to go.
That's usually reserved for my jokes.
Oh, okay.
But so Brandology, Beyond the Logo, the
Mhm.
podcast that I think is adjacent to what you're doing, right? It's its own deal, kind of like Sweat Equity is to Tokubaga, our firm. They're not completely independent and they're not together. I would say that's how I kind of have it.
Mhm.
We have our own entity, we have our own LLC and all the trademark and stuff for this podcast. But tell me about it. Why you wanted to do it? What's up with it? Why should we listen? All
Of
that.
course. Well, Brandology Beyond the Logo is a podcast that focuses on breaking down the art and science behind branding. So, because of I primarily focus on brand development with my clients, one of the things that I realize is that people really don't have a true understanding of what branding is or how in depth it actually goes. Most people think it's just
Logo.
your logo,
It's a
your
logo.
website,
Yeah.
and that's branding. That's branding. Like I hear people say that all the time, like, "Oh, look at that logo. That's branding," and I'm like, "It's not branding. Like that. At least not
Part
in
of
its
branding.
part
It's
of it.
important.
It's
Yeah.
like 1/7 of what branding is actually
It's a
Alright.
very
about,
specific fraction.
Yeah.
You have the other 6.
See, ops minded. Boom.
So, when it comes to branding, as you
Name
guys
the other
know,
6.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Calm down. So, you have company culture, your messaging, your target audience, like how you actually go about showing up in the world. So visually, visual branding. And then there's like your customer acquisition strategy. Like there's so many different ways that like branding actually affects things that people just think like, oh, well, if I just have a website and a logo, I'm branded well. It's like, no, it's like people need to understand what makes you different. And, with you develop your unique value proposition through the brand development process, people get to understand, why should I come talk to, your firm over coming to my firm? Like,
Right.
why is it that they should,
Whoa.
I think
Got
that's outside.
That's a Seventh Avenue singer, baby.
I don't.
Oh,
That guy's got
that's
some
beautiful.
pipes.
For those outside the area, this is like the Bourbon Street of Tampa, and it's some guys wailing out there.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was great. Okay.
I don't
That's
even know
so
if the
great.
mics picked that up,
It
but
did
Usually,
so.
well,
well, these are new mics, so
we've
sometimes
done this before, and we're like, oh, it's going to come to it. Never
And
comes.
oh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Anyhow, so yeah, so there's just so many different ways that branding actually affects our world, and all the way down to even when you're getting ready to sell your company, the determining the value of your company also has to do with your brand. So how strong your brand is. So Nike versus
Fila.
Fila, is going to have a completely different value.
Pull that one.
Thank you.
Nice ref.
That was
They
great.
got Grant Hill, though.
Oh,
They,
he
see,
drinks Sprite.
Well, there you go. It just went up.
Yeah.
So,
Finger roll.
so those are the kind of things that people don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So branding, I always try to compare it to Malcolm Gladwell's Blank. It's it's like, what do people think of your business, or you, if you are the business, in that blank? And that's the reflection of branding.
Yeah.
It's like a logo. You're trying to condense all these things that tell something about your business into one blank moment, right? That's why logos are difficult. That's why. So what do we figure out? Logos, the hero image on the website, the slogan or tagline, and a brand name. These are the hardest parts of branding in my eyes, a little bit, just general branding, I'd say, the way I view it. And so they're really hard because you're condensing all this information down to one thing that represents everything, right? And so I use our fire logo as an example, campfire logo. It's like, this tells a story once I can explain it to someone.
Right.
We don't care if they don't get it, if the broad public doesn't get it. We talked about this on the last episode. We're account farmers, not hunters. We want to build relationships. So if someone's sitting down and wants to hear me tell them about why we have a campfire logo, and it has something to do with the Tocobaga Indian tribe, and we're sitting around a campfire strategizing. It has a brand.
But we didn't say we wanted to hear about it.
No, I'm going to give you the short version.
Before you do it.
But it has a brand world. It has a story. It makes it have sticking power.
Yeah.
Because once I tell everybody that, then they do remember why we have these things.
Exactly. It's like going to Disney versus like Universal.
This is not going to be a metaphor I'm going to grasp.
No,
but
it's just,
I want to hear it.
It's the fact that like you have your company produces an experience, right?
Oh yeah.
That is different than say working with my company.
Right.
And that's what sticks in people's minds. So even if you have an image, that is your campfire logo, they'll remember that, but you have some people that will remember the fact that you actually sat down with them and had a, really detailed conversation about building their brand or doing their digital marketing over just like sending them some like, files. Like there was some thought process that went behind it. So, that's why you have your people that are, Universal fans versus Disney fans or whatever the experience is,
I don't even, when we do logos for a client, I don't email it to them. I want to see their face. So we either do it in person or via video.
Yeah.
Because of the blank test.
Right. So that's like another thing too, like from a brand standpoint, that is your process. Like understanding how you actually get to the win for a client is a part of your entire brandscape, So I don't do that. Like
Brandscape, that's a good word.
Yeah.
So like
use that.
our clients, I actually do send them their logos, but they send it to them in black and white first, and then there's like, they get to review it online and they get to leave comments. And the only reason I don't sit down with them in person anymore is because from a time standpoint, for me, it's not efficient. But knowing when I get that email back from them, that's like, oh my gosh, I love this one. This is so great. Like, I can feel the energy from what they're doing. But you have a different, process, which is totally fine, So, and that's what I think companies don't, they don't think about that. They don't think about like, how do I stand apart and why do I need to do things differently than, say my competition, because people are always saying, oh, well, there's enough room for everyone. Everyone can eat. You can have, 10,000 branding agencies in the same area. that'd be really crazy. But if that were the case,
Well, we know there's a lot of jabroni ones out there.
well, there are.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of, I mean, look, that's the audience we're kind of trying to hit for this podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's a lot of people that are trying to do their own brand, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that have to do it or that are doing it, maybe a couple hours a week, if that. Like,
Yeah.
and that's fine. You got to start somewhere. But when you go out and I talk about the guy who says he's going to run a marathon.
Mhm.
He's front loading all the adulation, but he didn't run it yet.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of people like that with trying to do their own ad agency or branding agency and stuff.
Mhm.
They go out there, they can take the selfies. They're very good at their own social media. I say we're the opposite. We're bad at promoting ourselves
yeah.
and all the work we've done, and we got to figure out how to get over that part. But I think everything for me, as far as implementing process and differentiation, because there's no template for us as the agency owners, you have to develop it, and you really have to always look back. Okay, what frustrated me,
Mhm.
when we did this last time,
Yep.
and like Eric and I, when we were doing web development, we were just like, okay, any custom code, we got to have like a place to push all this,
Reservoir.
yeah. So we have an Evernote full of like the custom code. This is how we did it. And then we got to the point where it was like, if it's really difficult, we got to make ourselves record a screen grab explaining that, because we're not going to remember it.
Mhm.
We want to get the sites done and not use that headspace to just be able to code on the fly.
Right.
It doesn't add value for us as our ops.
Mhm.
But this is, a year or two ago. But I'm saying, like, part of the process, my process, and like anything I do in business to up our game, same with jokes, it all comes out of frustration.
Mhm.
I write jokes out of frustration that I can't, I'm bitching about it in my head about something.
Mhm.
And then with business, I get frustrated because I didn't see this 3 steps ahead sometimes.
Right.
I don't know if you feel the same way about that, or
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
the client doesn't care that much,
yeah.
right? They just want it done on time,
Mhm.
and you want to be like, look what you could have had
Right.
with someone else. This could have been horrible.
It's funny because I went to tour the Bucks training facility last week.
Man,
and-
everybody gets to go but me, man.
I went
I should've
went on
told you.
Saturday.
Did you?
Yeah.
But their internal agency, their marketing team essentially was one that did the tour. And so we got to kind of hear from their perspective, like what it takes to pull a brand like this together, And so like even the owners of the Bucks, like they took like an entire year to develop the brand.
The world's worst uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Alarm clock.
honestly,
numbers.
yeah. I mean, but they knew that though. Like they knew that they weren't great, and so they kept taking time to like evolve them. Well, if you saw inside, like the lobby of the training facility,
We're huge Bucks fans.
Okay.
So I probably know every jersey.
jersey that
iteration.
Yeah.
There's not that many, honestly.
No,
Huh.
but the fact that they like
3 big ones.
the fact that they took the time, and I'm saying this because you have clients that will be like, oh, I want a logo or I want a website yesterday, not thinking 5 years down the road.
Now, yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, so you want to rush something that you're going to have forever.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally don't get it.
Everybody needs it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to explain quality versus price versus delivery.
Mm-hmm.
I just try to break that down and go, look, I can get you a site. I'll make you something tomorrow.
Yeah,
it
it's
ain't gonna
not
be
gonna look
awesome,
great.
and
Yeah,
you're not gonna have
problem
any
is-
say.
Yeah,
Right.
there's always somebody cheaper that'll undercut you and do a shitty job.
Yeah.
And they don't know the difference necessarily right away, that it's
Right.
not working or it's going to mess up or whatever it is.
And
Right.
one thing I learned from our clients too. So I feel like I always benefit because I definitely don't think I know everything. I just kind of I'm a good vessel for hearing good information, writing it down, and then spitting it out on this podcast or
Mhm.
when we're meeting up or something. And
Right.
so one of my clients was like, you should probably be charging more, which is
Mhm.
a weird thing to hear from one of your clients. And you're like, what?
Right.
You were arguing with me about a quote about when we started this. And he goes, yeah, but he could see the frustration of like trying to deal with all the needed done yesterday people that you're like, you need to have the power of no kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was very bad about that, and I'm getting better at it, but it's tough because you're like, I don't know. you work with startups now, and I just don't have any tolerance for it.
Mhm.
Like if someone's like, I got an app, I had a guy here 2 Sundays ago tell me his app idea.
Mhm.
And he's telling me how much he's spending once it goes up. I won't tell you what the app is, but I go, buddy, we can't even get to the marketing part, which is what you wanted me to do for you,
Right.
because your costs are out of fucking, like,
Way
I don't
out of
even
control.
I don't need to
Yeah.
know that much, but the way you're telling me that there's that, I was like, I forgot to mention this after. I couldn't articulate, but I wanted to say, like, the beauty of the app is less people involved. Human capital is the most expensive cost a lot of the time,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so he's like, well, what do you know? You're a marketing guy. I go, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go backwards. And that's where I'm going down the whole business plan with him. Like, what's this? What's your goal? What are your benchmarks? What are
Mhm.
KPIs? When do you want to do this? When's the launch? Have you developed an app before? No? Okay. Well, it seems like you may want to take some criticism. And he didn't want to hear it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fine. I don't have time for that.
Right.
But I would have tried to salvage that 3 years ago.
Mm.
I would have tried to be like a puppy about it.
Yeah, I think that's part. It makes it really hard when you have to help people understand what you do, because like even from, you have to think about it, like we're not coming at it in a traditional sense and saying, oh, we're a marketing agency, a marketing firm, especially if you're working with someone that has no business acumen whatsoever, or very little business acumen.
Oh, we're just playing on the computer all day.
Right, exactly.
We're not doing anything important.
You don't have anything.
You send it to
important.
India, don't
Right.
you?
Right.
Yeah.
You can take that phone call right now,
Yeah.
even though you've had 3 meetings,
Yeah.
planned out. But it's like you have to constantly educate people on what you do and the value that you bring to
Right.
them, So, people don't understand that marketing is not just making things look pretty or splashy, like advertising does.
Yeah.
There is a factor in it where you have to consider the numbers. You have to consider how much energy or people capital it's going to take to make something happen,
Right.
And what the ROI is, because at the end of the day, they still want ROI.
Right.
you
And so
know?
that's the most important. I've stopped pushing, like, here's the order of process we need. We need your branding. Then
Mhm.
we'll make your site, because you can't make your website without your branding. You can
Right.
kind of overlap the projects a little bit,
Yeah.
but really, if you're doing it correctly, you make the brand kind of
Yeah.
identity and message, which
Mhm.
that's how I see it. I don't know. I want to ask you how you see branding as a whole, but
Sure.
I look at it, the visual side, the message side, and that's how I've tried to teach it. So the way I try to tell them is like, all right, I need to know your goals, and then we can get into like resource audit. Like, what do you have as far as, like, it may not be money, but you might have a lot of interns, or
Yeah.
like you might have a lot of developers at your hand because you have another business that
Mhm.
has a lot of overlap or something. So a resource audit is in that beginning strategy stage. Now let's have a general strategy. What is this? What's your exit plan?
Mhm.
I want to know that too, because why would we put a lot of effort? Why would you pay us to put effort into some of these marketing things if it doesn't make sense?
Right.
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 So my thing, and then from like all that kind of general planning stuff, I'll go into the branding, because we have to send them somewhere. Then we have to make a site. Then after that, you have to make content to push out.
Mhm.
That's another one that gets mixed up in there. Content's really tricky,
Yeah.
because you're like, you're just writing blog posts, and you're
Ew.
like, no, it's more math
Dude,
than it is
what?
anything.
Right.
I'm trying to get 500 words, but I'm trying to add like Mad Libs all these keywords in there,
Right.
and then I'm trying to direct it at an audience that doesn't know it's directed at them.
Right.
So there's a psychology part of it. It's not as creative as artsy creative writing as you think,
Mhm.
right? But it's like, it's creative in the, like, I got to figure out this formula,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
image.
Oh, it's like me with the share through thing.
Yeah. So if you look at the titles of our episodes,
Yeah.
Eric's game the system.
I did, dude.
He's
The other
figured
day,
out-
I was
he's
like,
fig-
I was telling my wife, I'm like, you want to see something amazing that I can do?
Yeah.
And I
Uh-huh.
didn't put in the score or whatever. I typed up our last blog. I just put it in. I was like, watch this. I haven't tested it. And I hit it 100. She's like walking off. Didn't even
Don't-
stand in the same room. I was like,
She wasn't like, let's have another kid.
no. She's like, I'm sorry, what were you talking about back there? I was
And you're like,
nothing.
These are the titles to blog posts. They're really long.
I'm
and if
good
they're
at
long,
putting the words where they're supposed to be.
have I shown you that? The share through?
You talked about
Yeah,
it. We
so-
just haven't seen it yet.
So that helps our SEO a little bit. We get more listeners that way.
Yeah.
We have to look at that, but it's like, it's one of those things where that's like a really small piece of a lot of it. And if we
Yeah.
didn't have a brand already, it'd be harder for Eric to do that without us always talking about it, right?
Right.
And so part of that branding in the message area is how am I going to ghostwrite like you
Yeah.
if I don't know your style and tone? Ours is tongue in cheek. For this show, it's dick jokes and pragmatic business advice. Don't roll your eyes.
I'm just saying.
Look, dick jokes
With
are
your
the
eyes.
great equalizer. This is my theory.
Yeah.
If you don't laugh at dick jokes, you're fucking wrong.
Oh, okay.
All right, like
Alien.
look, if you can play it like you're too good for dick jokes. There's some people that come in here and do that. That's fine. I don't mind that. I get it. You got your own brand to
It's
represent.
off brand.
Yeah.
Right. But
He's very passionate about this, ladies and gentlemen.
it's the
Yeah,
great
Yeah.
equalizer though.
Yeah.
Because what's the funniest thing on America's Funniest Home Videos?
Nut shots.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's ubiquitous.
Every
Everybody
time.
loves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or grandparents when their pants fall down on the dance floor for no reason.
Pretty close to a dick.
You're right.
Yeah. Everything
That's
kind
a
of comes
great
back to
point.
that.
You
And a
that's
lot of
great
phallic
point.
symbols.
You're right,
And
that's a great
if
point.
we're going logo style,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, throughout history. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's the end all be all.
Mm.
I'm just saying if you don't think dick jokes are funny, you're lying.
Okay.
All right. So when people try to hire you or I or Eric or anybody in this digital world, they go, I want you to market us. And I want a podcast done. And you're like, cool. What is it about? And they're like,
Right.
So it's like, we got to go backwards. This is how I started. I wanted to start this place as just doing online ads because that was my specialty. That was
Right.
like my focus. I was really good at that. And so still am. No, but I just wanted to do that and just crush that. And that will be the thing. Then we'll add on other services.
Right.
But I found quickly when you work with small businesses, they don't have the other parts. So I had to kind of create the system of like going backwards and going, okay, here are all the marketing things you're going to do. You're going to do 15 tactics to get one new lead. Let's go backwards. And then we need content to be able to push out, to have a reason to email once a month, to push out to social media. What are you going to push out to social media? Because they're like, we need a social media game. And you're like, okay, what do you want? What promotions are out there? I don't know. You got to tell me some stuff too.
Yeah, you can't be you taking selfies and putting them out there.
Dude,
or
it's
whatever.
ridiculous what people think that they're going to hire you to do. And you just be like, cool, I got it.
Yeah.
I'll figure this out. I'll know your sales promos ahead of time. to
Right,
push out.
exactly, yeah.
And you're like, no, all this shit is planning for on the digital side. It's so much planning.
Yeah.
It's a big ski slope if you look at the hours on a graph, but that's the beauty of it too. It's a blessing and a curse.
There you go.
All right, I've been talking a lot as per usual when we hang out. Tell us about how you see branding when you're talking to clients. How do you teach it?
So I teach people that branding is, again, the foundation of every business, right? So it's like building a house. You can't build a house
Ooh.
without the proper foundation.
Uses the same
And-
metaphor, business boner.
I use it for. We've never talked about this, so that's interesting.
But I mean, it's kind of.
I use it for websites.
I'm
though.
not going to say that it's common knowledge, but it's one of those things is like if you're not telling people that it's the foundation of their business, then you're telling the wrong thing. So
Yeah.
it's like building a house to me, and the size of that foundation is going to be determined by the size of the company that you're ultimately trying to build. So if you're, trying to build something small, keep it local, that's a house, 1 story,
Tiny home.
2-foot foundation, maybe a slab because you don't really need a foundation. That's cool. But if you're trying to build out something that's going to be global, you're talking maybe now a skyscraper, and the foundation
Scalability.
for that is like 52 feet, So if you start out real small in a house, your
Is that really the
company's-
foundation?
You know a
Yeah.
lot about building.
I studied.
Did you really?
I
Is that legit?
Yeah.
Nice.
Google it.
No, that's, I don't want to.
It's the Google.
I trust you.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and that's relative, I'm sure for other, depending on the height of the actual skyscraper is probably
You
larger,
don't have to
but-
shit on your own point.
but I'm
I'm
The-
legit. I'm
Yeah.
actually interested. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I tell people that if you have to think about that first, before you start diving into, what your logo looks like or even what your name is, like what is your ultimate vision for your company, and how large do you see it going? And to me, that leads me to think, okay, well, if we're only building, if we're going to build a company that is essentially going to go global, right? We know we have to have a different positioning for that than a company that's going to just stay on a local.
Yep.
You know, if they're going hyper local, we know that we need to focus that their target audience is going to be local. Somewhere within that scape, but that's where our focus is. You know, the messaging and all of that is going to be focused on that particular audience. If we're going global, then we have to think like a global brand. We have to position that company like a global brand, which means that they're going to have different things that they need, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
faceless, a lot more PC.
Well, yeah.
Typically.
Well,
for
not
corporate.
Not necessarily, but in the sense of like, you know, like think about Airbnb, right? That's a global brand. And, you know, I'm not thinking disrupt. I'm thinking like conglomerates. Yeah, and I'm thinking more like, you know, how do you still have a develop a brand personality even on that level where people from anywhere around the world are going to be attracted to what you have to offer, and really what it is value positioning.
I know how.
Oh my gosh, here we go. So
their logo looks like a vagina. Pretty simple, guys. It all comes back to this.
I've never thought about it that way. But
look it up.
I'm looking it up right now.
When you see it, you're gonna be like, "Wow, he's dead nuts on," or you're gonna be like, "He thinks they look like that." I don't know how ladies' bits.
Oh,
work.
I just googled vagina. Sorry.
Oh, Lord, don't do that.
That's a different show.
Oh, it does look like
It
kind of actually looks like dick and balls too.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it's like a triangle with balls on the bottom.
Depends what you want to see, I guess. This is like a
It
Rorschach test.
depends on what you want to see. Yes.
Yeah, maybe that's the view outside your window of what you're renting.
Maybe that's your view outside your window.
So, but you were on a roll, so we cut you off.
Thank you. Yeah. So from there, you know, once we actually understand like where they're trying to go, I will actually walk them through our process, which they'll answer like 10 questions. Which it sounds really simple, but these 10 questions allow me to understand what they're going to look like visually, you know, what their tagline is going to come out to be, what their social media strategy needs to look like, what their revenue streams are. So if they have no idea how they're going to make money in their business, like from these questions, you know, I'm able to say, okay, well, you can actually monetize this business like this, and this.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying, like, essentially it ends up becoming the foundation of a business plan, because we help to answer all of those questions through that process before we even touch designing a logo or a website.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell everybody now, we don't even start working on the site until I have all the assets now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, huh? Yeah. I was like, well, I want to see it now. I'm like, I use the house scenario for the website. I'm like, I don't want to show you. Why would a building construction guy wouldn't want to show you a house? Why would he hates having the owner come by and go like,
yeah,
this looks like shit.
Why are there pipes out the foundation?
Right. Can we
I see
move
wood
this
and stuff out. Why
is
is
this
that
52 feet deep?
Right.
My building is. Yeah. So
it's only 51.5. Like, you know, like you just
damn.
Right.
Okay.
You don't want to have that happen.
What's the ADA doorway? What is it?
Right. It's
36 inches.
36
Come on,
inches,
guys.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. We both said it.
We all know that. We all know.
Oh, now it. Come on, guys. We all know it.
Common
right?
knowledge,
yes?
guys.
Okay, good.
Okay, guys.
So, you know, you want to make sure, and it's the same thing for building a website. You know, like with anything else, content is king. So you have to make sure that you have all of that already ready to go before you start launching out and putting things out into the world.
Yep. I had a client recently who was like, all right, hey, here are 4 websites. Just start taking everything from them. I'm like,
nope.
No. And I'm like, even if I was doing that, how do you want it laid out? Do you want it the exact same? Because that is illegal, I'm sure, on a bunch of IP stuff. But, you know, we can use that as a jumping off point if you want. I try to be nice about it, but I was like, you know, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
But we could talk for hours. We got to cut it off because Eric's got a hard out. And then I'm going to do your show after this.
Okay.
Oh, boy. All right.
What about my sweat equity?
SweatEquityBod.com.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Vimeo, your mom's Walkman.
My sweat equity.
LinkedIn, super big on LinkedIn.
Huge in India. Kazakhstan. What up?
About my sweat equity.
#1 in careers in Kakistan.
Oh.
Kazakhstan.
Something like that.